What's going on, guys? This is Dustin, and welcome to this new video. So, I I've been working on a game, and I want to get back into showing off the work that I do. I think it's really important. I haven't been working on games honestly that much. I've been mostly toying around with writing libraries and just kind of building building some software that I just find interesting or kind of tries to do something a little bit out there, because after all, this is everything I'm doing here, like with games and scripting languages and all that. This is all my hobby, My main profession is I'm a web developer. Primarily do yeah build websites, build web applications, and so when I'm off work, I would like to work on things that are a little bit outside of that domain. That way, I don't get burnt out, and I can keep learning things that are outside of the web development domain, which have the added benefit of giving me a wider perspective on different ways to build software that I can bring to the applications that I write. But anyway, I would like to make a game. I've been working on one on and off for a better part of maybe like 10 years. I've been working on one project or another, and I think it would be a good time to actually do that now, especially since I've settled quite a bit, and I don't have as much going on in my life anymore. Being out of school, just being a homeowner, living with my wife, with my dog. I think it's a good time to sit down and maybe try content again. That doesn't mean I'm making any promises, by the way. I do this thing when I feel like it because I'm not I don't want to burn out. I don't want to have worse performance at work because I've spent so much time trying to build my YouTube channel, all that stuff. Anyway, rant over. Uh, this is what I've been working on. It's ridiculously simple at this point, so uh, don't expect anything too much. But it's going to be a pretty cool project. And I already have ideas for sequels and all that other stuff because I in one form or another I've been trying to build this type of game for a long time, and I just haven't been successful at it because I haven't had a good core gameplay idea that is fun, that really inspires me. But all of the tools and stuff that I've built, all the different random functions that I've built, I keep them around and I keep putting them all together and then trying a different idea. In this case, I think this one is gonna work regardless. For one, I have my brother doing the main like gameplay element and story element and writing and all that, so I can focus on what I really enjoy, which is just the coding part. Um, but I hope to also contribute stories and all that other stuff. So yeah, the screen doesn't update quite right now. But what you can think of this as very similar in concept, but it won't be similar in gameplay. Similar in concept to the Oregon Trail and the game that followed it, the Oregon Trail. So there's the Oregon Trail, and then there's the Oregon Trail. And the Oregon Trail is a cool spin on the Oregon Trail where it introduces zombies. And growing up, that was one of my favorite games. My brother and I played it obsessively. We also played a lot of those storybook, like choose your own adventure games that were zombie themed. And we've always like I know zombies are out. Look, I get it. Zombies have been done to death. But there's so much room for new stories, new innovation, different ideas. Like I think there's room to make a really good zombie game. I think there's a lot of things people like about zombie games, choose your own adventure books and all that, that aren't addressed in many of the games that are created. And I think a lot of it is kind of, I don't want to throw shade, but maybe a little uninspired. And so my goal is to make zombies interesting again, cool again, scary. Um, Also, I want to mention, even though everything you see here is in 2 dimensions, this game's not going to be in 2 dimensions for the most part. It's going to be in 3D. I already have a 3D pipeline that I've been working on in the background for a long time for a separate project, and it's going to be plugged into here. But I'm not going to worry about any of that. All that is bloat. I'm just trying to make a solid game. All right, just get the gameplay out. Make sure that it's fun, and then we can make it look really pretty, sexy, add animations, all that cool stuff. All right, so we got our first. I was gonna show you the game, but I pushed up a bug. Let's see. Screen result. Oh yeah. Right. Okay. So um, I'm not gonna go into too much detail about what all this is, but for now, scene result. I'm just gonna get it compiling. Ah, fun stuff. Okay, so I need to move some code over from my laptop. 1 second. Actually, scratch that. I forgot. So the way I have this project split up, I'm moving all of the common code, the code that I use between projects, to um, a library. I'm just calling Beyond. Switch main. And you're not supposed to build a framework, like a generic framework, when you're trying to make a game. You're supposed to just build the fucking game. But I, you can't stop me, all right? Don't try. I want to make a framework, okay? I want to make something really cool. I want to have code that I can keep using for all my different ideas. And so I'm gonna make a framework, okay? And it's gonna be sweet. I'm gonna be able to do such cool stuff. It's actually already sweet. There's some cool things that I can do, like the plugin system. I kind of want to show around or show you how that works. Okay, so things shouldn't crash now. All right, so in the map, at the start of your journey, you're gonna start at a location. So we're down in start. All these locations here are they're gonna have their unique names. And I also think that all of this is gonna be procedurally generated. I think it would be fun to have a different journey each time, but we'll see. But anyway, you can select a path, you can start your journey, and now we're going on the road. If you open up the map, you can actually see your progress. Unfortunately, I think it looks like there's a bug that closes the map when I hit space, so maybe we can fix that so you can actually see it animate all the way up. But when you reach one of the dots, that's a location, and unlike the Oregon Trail, you're going to be able to travel all over the map. You're going to be able to go back up the roads, however you want to do it. But everything's going to be connected through nodes and edges. So the edge being a road, each node being some point of interest, like a town, a city, a camp, maybe an old church with a cannibal corpse, with a cannibal cult or something. Anyway, so we get the choice of rerouting, stopping at the town, or just continuing on our journey. So let's just continue on. So you can see that we're moving. Maybe we want to reroute. So let's pick a new place I want to go. So I can click up here, or I can click down here. I can start the journey again. So besides the bugs, you can kind of see that we already have a system where you can move from one node to the next. And as you progress, each tick will adjust your statistics, lower your hunger, maybe increase the chance of you getting infected. There's also, I set this up so every single character in the game, and this also includes zombies, they can all be a part of a caravan and travel in groups together. So my plan is to have on the map, you have to listen to the radio, or you have to have a satellite or something, and it will keep track of, in general, the different clouds, the different zombie hordes that are around on the map, and it's up to you to choose to go through the more dangerous route or go around it or something, and you'll actually see them move over the map. Every single character that you meet on the game also can be part of your caravan or someone else's caravan, and or their own caravan, and they all independently can move around the map. So my goal is to have this be a it'd be really cool to have this be like a simulator of some post-apocalyptic zombie nation wherever you're at, and yeah, I think that'd be really fun. I've been really focusing, and this is something that I've learned, through all my years working professionally in software. This is something I've learned. I'm trying to make things work and work well right off the bat. Like you see some traveling stuff that isn't working, but that's because I've been working on the traveling stuff. Like this menu's a lot better than, it's functional, right? You can use the menu to go and click around. I want to get things in a almost shippable state, before I move on to other things. So that means there's a profile system that saves and loads your data. You can delete, rename, all that. There's some glitches with the transitioning between scenes, but all this GUI also is done using a library called, or using a header only library called Clay. Um, there's a developer called Nick Barker who created this really nice library called Clay, and he did it to demonstrate. Oh, here, that's the wrong one. He did it to demonstrate a very simple Flexbox implementation. And that was actually very helpful for me to kind of unlock some of the issues that I was dealing with, kind of move past some of the blockers that I was dealing with when building my own UI layout. It helped me think about things in different steps, and I really appreciate the work that he's done here. In the end, though, I spent a lot of time trying to re-implement Clay from scratch, just going off the video. And honestly, I was like, dude, I don't want to make a UI layout engine. I want to make a game, and so I ended up wrapping Clay for Nim, and yeah, I think I'll show that now. This is mostly going to be a code tour, not so much just kind of give you a lay of the land, not so much a game development stream. Well, I would like to do more of those though in the future, but for right now, I just want to kind of talk about some of the cool things that I have working. So, like I said, this Beyond is a Git submodule. It's going to be its own library. I might actually rename it to Coral. Back in the day, I had a Coral graphics library and windowing thing, so I might rename it. But I also like Beyond. We'll see. And my goal is for it to just give you or give me a ton of utilities to make building games, building UI, everything just really easy. You just kind of snap it together, and you don't have to think about architecture as much. So that's one thing that really slows down progress is the choice paralysis that you get while building a game. Thinking about which system should have access to which system and all that. It's kind of a nightmare, but I'm hoping this makes things easier. Wrapping Clay was actually fairly straightforward. I had to learn a bit about the C4 function interface in Nim because I had to do. Clay has some interesting C macros and C trickery, so I had to kind of re-implement some of that. A lot of this I also want to change. This is just kind of I even use some AI to help me write a lot of these bindings, so a lot of it's a little sus. But yeah, the cool part though is all these utility functions, and then also just the fact that Nim gives you actually really good macros like compile time code generation, and so I can replicate the really nice C macros that are used in Clay in Nim and actually do them a lot better and very nice. So that's really cool to me. So Clay, I'm going to turn it into its own library at some point, and then maybe if I'm interested in it, I might turn this GUI thing into an actual library as well. I have to make it good though. That's the problem. But yeah, anyway, so I bind Clay. That's what I'm using for the UI. There is a little bit more to show you with the UI. Like I'm building an editor along with it, just a very simple editor, just so I can lay out the locations and all that. My cat jumped up here. You want to say hi? This is Loki. You might have saw him years ago in when I was living in Arizona. I made a video and he was sleeping in the background, and I remember someone commented on it, and I thought it was really cool. Why can't I get the editor running? Let me just do this for now. I'm using NeoVim, and I am currently in the process of rewriting my config for the billionth time. So bear with me as indentation is a little bit janky, and I need indentation lines. And I don't have those right now, so that's lame. Maybe I'll work on my NeoVim config on a video. If people are interested in that, I'd love to share. So NeoVim's a fantastic editor, and Okay, so I haven't ran this in a little while, so I don't see the actual map, but you can see just a little bit more of the UI that I've developed. And then actually, if I want to spoil a little bit more, let's see. Let me go here. Let me get pull. Sick. So I need to not rewrite, but move this over so it uses my new GUI system and my Beyond library. But oh yeah, this is really old. Okay, never mind. I don't have anything to show you there. All right, let's get back to this. So, um, probably the thing that I am the most proud of is this plugin system. Now, unfortunately, or maybe not unfortunately, but for right now, I have gotten this to work before, but I need to rethink about how to get this done. This doesn't work with dynamic libraries. So my end goal is that you can be able to you can take a nim file, compile it to a dynamic library, and then load it as a plugin. For now, this all works at compile time, and so this is mainly just a code architectural uh, macro system that allows me to kind of split out my code in a way that I think is really very nice. It's essentially the way I want to code it, but with the benefits of doing it in a more man. I don't even know how to explain it. Let me bring up some example code here. So the first thing, maybe I can go to the Midzite. Midzite's a working name, by the way. It's a really simple name. It's like midnight, but with a Z. So the first thing you can see is I have this plugin called Midzite. This is the main plugin. I give it an order, and -1 ensures that this always loads and runs before any of the other plugins run. Another detail that I want to let you guys know about is there is no dynamic dispatch here at all. It's all static dispatch. So let's see. So what I was trying to fix with this macro system, if you're familiar with frameworks like Monogame or uh, maybe Godot, there's plenty of other examples. In order to make a subsystem for your game, you have to usually derive or extend some game system interface, class, whatever. Let's just go with Monogame's example. You have to extend the game object or game whatever scene, and then game component, and then override like the update, load, and render methods, and then write your own specific implementations. Now there's a few things that I don't like about that. First, there's kind of a dependency problem here, where in order to make it so that each of your plugins only accepts the fields and the values and the subsystems that it needs to have access to, and none other, which is usually a good code clean, keep your code clean kind of thing, right? Um, you have to pretty much pass them in to the constructor of that plugin that you're initializing, and then store them as references on the class. Now, in a different option is you would just pass them in as an argument to a method, but then every single game system that you write, let's say, extends the game system class and then implements the update. The update will be the same for all of them, right? So all plugins are going to use the same or have access to the same type of fields. Or so you end up having to create this really big type hierarchy, and then each of those methods have to have different types of fields, and then you start ending up you end up creating all of these game systems, and each of them use like only half the parameters, and then kind of like stub out or comment out the rest, or don't use the rest, or it's annoying, right? And then also another thing that I don't like is you have to have a structure, right? An object to put those function pointers on, and that's just extra state that's just laying around. We don't need state, right? Like what I would want, ideally, is just to do the sloppy thing, but have it be really clean. And that's the beautiful thing about macros is that you can do that. So what I mean by the sloppy thing is, really, I want to have in my main file just an update, draw, and load. And then what I want to do is I want to have load system A, load system B, load system C, and then the same for update and then draw, right? I just want this. It's that simple. Just call the functions that I want in the correct order, in the correct point in the application lifetime. And all this though, like the reason why you don't want to really do this is, let's say I make this B go first, but then I forget to update the order of the draw, or maybe I don't want to update the draw, but I want to update the update function, or just in general, like having to organize and maintain this is a little bit of a pain in the ass. And that's something I wanted to avoid. So I want my cake, and I also want to eat it too. And is that so hard, right? Is that so much to ask for? So this is what I came up with. You have this thing called a plugin, right? And what a plugin does is you pass it an identifier, the name of the plugin. What it does is it then takes it and appends it to the end here. It then stores that function in global, like this compile time cache. And then when you're ready to actually put all these functions where you want them, you call this generate function. So let's see if I can, I don't have dumb jump. Start application. I think I have most of this built into the application itself now, so yeah, here we are. So this is where, this is a big template. I'm probably going to clean this up. I don't want this all to be a big template. But here you can see the basic update, render, initialize, load, and all that. So this is the main loop of the application, and you can see these function calls here. Generate the plugin step, draw. Generate the heads up display, right? And then up at the update here, generate the load, step. Generate the states. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do with these plugins. And if I can actually show you what this generates. If I want to do that, I can do expand macros. I wonder if this will work in an expression like this. Let's see. So if I do this, and then let's run. Oops. Let's go to midsite. Midsite. Where's midsite? It's in my projects folder. I'm so disorganized on this computer. It's my work machine. So it's just really disorganized. Anyway, let's run. Okay, so a bunch of output. We can kind of see what gets generated. These are all the different systems, all the different updates, update functions, draw functions, all that. My plugin system also integrates a scene management system. So each plugin can be a scene, and it uses the ID of the plugin to kind of keep track of which scenes are active. There's a stack, and then you can replace different fields in the stack, and then each time that you want to load the scene, whenever you push a scene, it calls the load step. And all that's just handled behind the scenes, right? So what this is saying is, if the current scene is the editor scene, then, and if the editor scene should load, then load the editor scene, right? Otherwise, it does some other junk. But yeah, can you imagine having to? Oh yeah, and also there's a function for always running even during when the game's paused, and then the main update function pauses when the application is paused. So this is all pretty sweet. And the secret though that makes this even cooler, and I'm a little on the fence honestly about how some of this works, because it's kind of weird, to be honest, but if you want to pull in a resource, just pull it in as an argument here. It figures it out for you. So there's this drawing object, and I can just add a function here. And actually, let's just do something. Let's echo drawing. Let's see what that echoes. So all I did was write the function and ask for the value that I need, and suddenly I have it, and it figures it all out. So how does that work, right? There's a caveat, right? Which is, if I name this something like drawing2, it's going to crash because it can't find drawing. Because at the top of my application, I am injecting a bunch of variables right here. And these variables have to match up with the variables in your parameters. Now, this is really, I haven't seen, maybe in some Lisp environments this is common, but this is kind of weird to me because I literally, if I change the name down here, all of my code that references the old name breaks. Now, that's actually pretty cool, right? Because that means every single thing it's enforced to use the same naming for each variable, and I think that's kind of a cool feature. Now, if I really wanted to get rid of this feature, it's a side effect. If I wanted to get rid of it, there are ways I could get around it. I've tried. I've come close to getting that right, but then I'm like, you know what? I actually like this behavior, so I want to keep it. These plugins can also be stateless or stateful. And what I mean by that is you can give specific state to your plugins. So if I have like a mid-site object like this object, and I can have a field, I can go here, I can say state, I can initialize the mid-site object, and now I can pull in that state here. I think I have it disabled, but I did this for a very specific reason. Each of these functions are garbage collector safe, GZ safe. They're also thread safe, meaning you can split out your rendering and your updates. I had that working. I decided to rip it out because I don't want to deal with having to interpolate my animation frames and all that quite yet. I want to figure out a proper way to do that. So I ripped out the threading, but just know that it is possible. Each of these functions have to be thread safe. And so everything that accesses state in these functions, it has to access the state passed in to these functions. So you can give it a state, you can pull it in. You can pull it in either mutably or immutably. Right? So if you don't need to change the mid-site object, you don't need to. You can just read the values from it. If you want to, you can pull it in mutably. I think you can pull it in maybe as a pointer. I probably don't have that set up, but yeah. So you have some plugin states. I can kind of show you maybe a next cool thing is I can kind of show you how the GUI system works. It looks like ass. Let's all admit it. It looks terrible. It's because I haven't spent any time making it look good. I can make it look good, but there's some things I still need to figure out. And also, all of that is besides the point. I just need to make this game. I just want to make a nice. I just want to have a nice gameplay experience before I make it all look nice. But as you can see, you can create the span. This, if you're familiar with Clay, this would be the LM, the element. And then you can give it a layout. You can say it's top to bottom. You can give it a fit, different fill algorithms like make it fit or make it expand out, grow to fit the container. I have some text input widgets and just some very basic like widgets to get me going, get me started. So that's been really nice. Having a nice immediate mode, or it's kind of like a pseudo immediate mode library is really cool to make rapid UIs. And each one of these scene plugins has a GUI node already predefined for it. So as long as this GUI node exists, all these templates, all these macros, they know to find that global object or this object and to use it for all the stuff that it needs to use the GUI object for. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I wanted to show you guys. I'm using MessagePack to do my serialization, deserialization, which is a pretty cool, very simple JSON style binary format. So that's sweet. I'm using that for my game saves, and very simple profile system. This is all baked into Beyond because I want to write this once and use it forever for all my different projects. I think I did set up a migration system. I might have started it. I don't think I had anything worth migrating. I need to figure out how to version objects correctly and do like a proper migration. So I think I'm doing something like that, but I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and look at it. input. Yeah. Well, anyway, guys. Yeah. Maybe I'll just speak a little bit about why I chose Nim. Obviously, you've seen Nim pop up on my channel quite a bit. It's not the language I would use for work. I use plenty of other languages, whenever I'm trying to do different things, whether it's C or I've been playing quite a bit, or I've been using Kotlin because that is a language I use at work. So I want to get really good at making sure I can stay really good with Kotlin and all that. The reason why I chose Nim for this project is I just think it's such a fantastic language for building games. For me, at least for the type of games, the scale of games that I want to build, I think it is just such a great blend of control and then also just niceties. It's a nice language to write in. It's nice to look at, right? Like I really appreciate the syntax. Syntax isn't everything, right? But I think syntax is an underappreciated part of language design because I think really good syntax leads to good semantics. And one thing I like about NIM syntax is I can create and use these macros. I can create and use these create domain specific languages, but because all those domain specific languages are built using the NIM syntax, I get this intuition on how it works. There's never a moment where I come back to a project that I haven't looked at for years and I'm like, how the fuck does this work? Like, it's just, I get to read it. I'm like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, okay, that's an object construction, that's a command invocation. I can kind of piece it together and learn how to contribute to it. So that's one thing I really like about it. Another thing is just kind of leaning back onto compile time. Having compile time means you have less runtime, right? there's less things that are running dynamically at runtime, and I've been able to avoid many different cases of dynamic dispatch. But sometimes dynamic dispatch is actually the right tool for the job, and I probably let me see. I thought I why can't I grep? Whatever. I forgot the command for grep. I thought I've used methods here. Maybe I don't, but you get to opt into dynamic dispatch, which is pretty sweet. Similar to C++, but it's just so much simpler. Like the C++ is just full of tons of complexity. You have same with Rust. Like you have all these different containers for managing your memory, and with something like Rust, I find refactoring Rust. Ironically, I find refactoring Rust kind of difficult. Maybe not difficult, but annoying, right? Like Rust always guides you towards, I think, really good code patterns that are dry and do things in correct stages and don't access all the different parts of your memory in crazy ways. It leads you to write good code, but in the process of designing a game, if you're used to using code to develop and design a game, it's kind of hard, right? Because at some moment I'm like, oh, I want to have a trait and I want to have it be dynamic so I can have a different collection of traits that all get passed in the same function, right? So I pass in a dynamic trait. Then I change my mind and I'm like, oh, let's just use a lifetime, and I tie two structs together with a lifetime, and I'm like really proud of it. But then I have to go through all the different code and all the different implementations and add those little like lifetime ticks to all the different code. And then like an hour later, I'm like, oh shoot, that was a bad choice. I actually don't want this. I need to be a boxed garbage collected value or whatever. And so I have to undo all that work. And I just want to program, man. I just want to. Well, I guess that's program. I just want to. I don't want to even think about it. I don't want to think about memory quite that tersely. If I'm gonna do memory management, I want really simple memory management. Something like Zig, something like C, even C++. I appreciate just being able to opt in to lifetime and reference counting and all that, and all that. And that's one thing that you kind of get with Nim, right? Like if I say this is a reference object, this is going to be a heap allocated object. If I don't want it to be a heap allocated, I just do this, and practically nothing changes. Sometimes you have to change, if it passes in a parameter as a var, you might have to change it to just remove that var. But it's just the memory model is very simple yet very powerful. If I want to do just complete memory management with zero garbage collection, which by the way, I don't use garbage collection. I use something called atomic arc, which is a atomically safe atomic reference counting system, right? A little slower than manual memory management, but not as slow without the garbage collecting pauses as a true BOEM style garbage collector would be. So that's really nice, and it's just a good balance of all the things that I want in a programming language, and it's just getting better and better, right? Like I've always been very like the hardest part about Nim is the tooling, right? Like the editor support, but it's gotten better, you know. Like actually, I just use Nim check, and then a very simple, like I just plug the results of that Nim check, I parse it very simply, and then uh, display it in my editor. So you know, I get errors right here. I can see that there's an error. I don't currently have commands bound to actually reveal what the error is, but I'm not even using the LSP, the language server, and it still works really well. But you know, the VS Code plugin is just getting better and better and better. I recommend everyone just use that. You know, sometimes there's still issues with some of the errors hanging around after you save. I found if you use nimcheck in my VS Code in my NeoVim, that it works a little bit better, more consistently. That's why I choose to use it. But I've also used VS Code for Nim, and it's been a great experience. Um, Debugging Nim, that's honestly a big negative of using it. There isn't a great debugger, and to be honest, writing a game without a debugger is like it's like writing a book using like a really dull, crappy pencil or something that keeps breaking. I don't know. It makes your life a lot harder. Print debugging is not great when you're trying to track the lifetime of certain objects through a certain sequence of events and replicate situations. And you know there are, I mean, I have gotten simple, you know, debugging. I can step through all my code and all that, but I can't really see all the variables because of name mangling and all that. I hope that gets better, but we'll see. And then lastly, the last thing I'll mention about Nim is I'm so excited for its future, because most, if not all, of the major kind of friction points that I have with Nim 2. What is this version actually? Let me check. Nim with the current version of 2.2.4 is gonna be fixed and resolved in the new Nim 3. You can actually follow Nim 3 if you're curious on what that language is going to look like. I would just go to the Nim forums. You can see certain threads that cover different updates. If you want to look it up, it's also titled Nimony. It's under the creator of Nim's language repository. It's going to be really cool. Already the technology used to build it, the technology that it's based on, the way that the NIF system or the NIF files allow you to like know so much more about your code. The way the plugin system works in that language, it's gonna be great. Oh, and what's the word? Incremental compilation, really speeding up compile times. Not that they're slow anyway, but you know, it's gonna be slower than it's gonna be slower than just writing C, right? Because it compiles to C and then it compiles the C to assembly or binary or whatever. But anyway, guys, I just want to make this video. It's really loose, really sloppy, but that's how I want to do it. And yeah, I'll be back. We'll actually start working on this project in the next video. And I hope to be making a lot more of these because they're a lot of fun and I miss it. All right, everyone, I'll see you later.